Where Are You Going, Hero Girl? Written and read by Waltzing the Fey Paths. Chapter 2. An Interesting Girl. Nedzu stared at the young girls before him, smiling his most serene smile. What did you say your name was again? Yuuei, Class 1B student Ayashimitosa Eri, she reports promptly, sitting up straighter. The Time Turner hero, Reverse. I'm from 8 years into the future, and this Eri is the me from now. The tiny Eri beside her tucked herself more firmly into the elder's side. The tiny Eri had bandages hidden under her long sleeves, and doesn't look like she knows what a smile is, never mind how to do it. He does so hate it when humans decide to experiment on sentient beings. Oh, did your parents have anything to say about you taking her? I didn't have parents, Tiny Eri whispers. Big Eri looks like she's been stabbed or had her dog kicked or something equally painful. No, our birth parents haven't been in the picture for a very long time. Ah, she must have had fosters or adoptive parents then. By that reaction, she must have been close to them. And how did you know about Shirokuma-kun? I'm a time traveler now, Big Eri says somewhat wryly. The discovery was made when I was young, but I don't think anyone was really successful in making the change back permanent. My fathers had discussed the idea of using my quirk to fix it a few times when they didn't think I could hear, but the war was so bad that they decided against it pretty early on. I wasn't really sure if I'd be able to pull it off, though, but I had to try. And what war was this again? The League of Villains, originally created by Shigaraki Tomura with All for One's backing, joined forces with the Paranormal Liberation Front to wage war against the current society, demanding a radical change. By the time I was forced to leave, there were very few heroes left. And why did you leave? My quirk rewinds organic matter. The reason why my fathers originally took me in is because the Shi Hasakai were using my blood and my quirk to create quirk-cancelling bullets. Big Eri swallowed hard, drew a breath, and says, So when I sent myself backwards, I went back far enough that I would have time to hand all of them in to the authorities before the USJ incident so that I wouldn't overtax my quirk. I came back because the PLF wanted my quirk. Ah, I did see that a string of Yakuza had been delivered to the authorities, Nedzu exclaimed. However, if you use your quirk without a license, that is vigilantism. Big Eri shook her head. I was Recovery Girl's assistant, with the understanding that I would eventually replace her as Yuei's head nurse when she retired. I've had my provisional license for 5 years now. And you took down a Yakuza group all alone? Big Eri shrugged. I came backwards. I had to do it alone. There was no one to ask. She swallows dryly. I still remembered my way around the compound, though. I snuck in the pre-dawn and knocked everyone out and put them all in quirk-cancelling cuffs. I found the 8 masks and took their quirk factors, though. A dark look came over her face then. I made sure that Overhaul knew it was me, but I wanted him to know exactly what his tortures had created. But we're cursed, little Eri whispered. That's what Kai-sama said. He hurts us to fix us. Chisaki Kai hurt us because he was sick in the head, Big Eri says firmly, though she doesn't snap like she clearly wants to, mindful of the timid creature she once was. Kai hurt us because he was a monster. We aren't cursed, little me. We have a different quirk, a difficult quirk, yes, but with training it can be controlled. Quirks are like tools. A sword can be dangerous in the hands of one who doesn't know what they're doing, but it can become something beautiful in the hands of someone who does. Exactly, Nedzu exclaims, slits his eyes in a blinding smile, and says, exactly as Aizawa-kun would describe it. Pain flares hot and bright in Big Eri's eyes. How is he? And Shirokuma-san, do you know, may I be informed? Such a polite little thing, he thinks to himself, though no wonder. Aizawa-kun and Shirokuma-kun are both in Recovery Girl's competent hands, he answers blithely. She takes the non-answer with a nod, turning her head back to the little girl under her arms. Principal Nedzu, please, would Yuuei consider taking on 2 wards? Big Eri asks finally, after a moment's silence. He tilts his head at her, genial, but his eyes glint. He wants her to make a case, wants her to think that she convinced him to take her on. Little me has spent the last 3 years being conditioned to believe that her quirk is a curse, and has almost no control over it, Big Eri says immediately. Left without training, she could reverse a whole person. That's why our birth mother gave us up, anyway. But with the sort of training that Yuuei staff can provide, with the supervision of someone like Aizawa-san, we can become medical heroes like this world has never seen, I swear it. And what about yourself? I'm a Yuuei student during war, Big Eri says sadly, hand wrapped around what appears to be a locket underneath her capture scarf. And whilst he can understand that she doesn't want to push anyone, it is glaringly obvious who her fathers were in the future that now isn't. I might be a first year, but our training was heavily accelerated to give us a fighting chance. On top of that, both of my fathers and my brother were heroes, so I've received additional training. I can help with the hero student courses as an aide, or I can help bring general education students up to scratch even. This last idea has her excited. Is that where the brother started, perhaps? Or is it just because that's where Aizawa started? How intriguing. Good points, Nedzu nods. But then, what will I do with Shirokuma-kun? Then, please take on Shirokuma-san and little me, Big Eri says immediately, even though her eyes look devastated. And allow me to continue my apprenticeship under Recovery Girl, please. Really, there is no rule saying that they can't take on all 3 of them. He just wanted to know what her response would be. Where to put you, though, he muses. Dormitories, rather, like Shiketsu has. It would promote growth, team building, team bonding, and independence in your students. This must be something that had already happened. If not, why would she be so excited at the prospect? Now he is curious. How would the dormitories be organised? By paired class. Compulsory for the hero course and support students who most need the school buildings, and optional for the others. If Cementos made them, that would save the school building costs. Yes, that would work. However, 33 dorms seem a little excessive. But when you have students coming from all over the country and even from afar to attend your school, doesn't it make sense to help parents save funds where possible? Big Eri returns immediately. Otherwise, how can you expect children from impoverished or low-income families to attend? And if you can't expect them to attend, then doesn't that then become classist? The words don't quite sound like hers. She's quoting someone, but that someone has a good point. And on top of that, maybe combining pair classes so that there are 40 to 60 students to a dorm instead of only 20. So to each year level, you have Hero Block, General Studies Block, Support Block, and Business Block. Then there's only 4 dorms to a year group, so then there's only 12 buildings to create. She offers after a moment of thought. This would then de-escalate the rivalry between classes A and B, and having the year groups grouped together, this would allow the first years to get to know each other, and the third years the ability to work together and collaborate more, such as the business students doing promotional work, and the support students making adjustments to equipment. Also, if there are students with a difficult home life, they will have a sanctuary in the school and may even be able to build the rapport necessary to go to trusted adults, trusted heroes, and free themselves of their abuse. Oh, he liked this human. Well, I'll bring it up at the next staff meeting, he says cheerfully. She doesn't need to know that that will be this afternoon, but she looks happy all the same and thanks him politely for his consideration. Truly an unusual human. Until then, shall I ask Aizawa-kun and Yamada-kun if they could put you up for a few days while we sort it all out? The sheer amount of longing on her face at that is staggering, even if it is only there for a moment before she turns to her little self. Aizawa-san and Yamada-san will look after you, don't you worry. Would you like to meet them? Little Eri looks up at the elder, thinks for a long moment, and then nods. Big Eri turns back to Nedzu with a small smile and bows to him. Thank you very much, Nedzu-san. Should we go to Recovery Girl's office, or would you like for us to stay here a little longer? Oh, finish your tea, Nedzu insists, and then pushes the plate of biscuits closer to little Eri, who is so terribly thin. Have another biscuit, Ojo-chan. Once both Eris are nibbling away, he asks, Ayashimi Tosa, what a name! But it isn't your birth name, is it? You didn't assign it to your little self. No, I didn't, Big Eri says finally, voice gone soft again. It's made up from the surnames of my father's, my brother, and the 3 heroes who rescued me from Shihasakai. Little me doesn't need to be bound by the same name that I chose. She can pick her own. But we already have the same name, little Eri whispers. Big Eri has that pained look in her eyes again, but she smiles for her little self. I can change my first name, if you like. That way we won't be confused when people call for Eri. Little Eri shakes her head, the fiercest she has been since Nedzu first laid eyes on her, and the closest to the expressive creature her older self is that she has been to date. That's not fair. You're here because you had nothing left. I can't take your name too. It's all right, Big Eri smiled. I don't mind. But if you like, you can be Eri and I can be Ayashimi Tosa, so people can tell the difference. Little Eri thinks long and hard before giving a somewhat hesitant nod. Big Eri smiles at her blindingly. The girls finish off their tea and biscuits, and then they are off to Recovery Girl. Truly, what an interesting human.